This is a short tutorial about managing your subjects in CSU Thinkspace using the Categories and Tags feature. This is Judy O'Connell, and I'm showing you a couple of the features first of all in my own blog, because it might just give you a bit more of an idea of the impact of the choices that you're making now. So here's my blog interface at the front, and you can see there are a number of labels across the top. All of these labels are what are called pages, but this one here, which I've labelled blog, and which you will have different names for, is actually where the blog happens. That's the place where each thing that you write simply gets added to the top of what you've written, and so they scroll down, and in my case for years and years and years. So how do we solve the problem, as some students have said, about my work disappearing and I'm not being able to find it? Well, luckily there's a really easy way to do that, and it's using categories and tags. Down here you'll see a whole number of categories that I've been using for a number of years as well, something like 6 years, and I've used a feature that simply emphasises some of them, but more particularly let's have a look for you what happens. So you've started writing for your different subjects. Imagine each time I've written about future directions, I put in the category future directions. Why would I do that? Well, think of categories like your virtual filing cabinet. When I do my tax, I want to be able to go to my filing cabinet and find all the relevant sections that I want for that, or for my study, or in my workplace. So here I am, future directions. If I click on my category future directions, a little bit of magic happens. What happens is that everything gets sorted by the word category, archives, future directions, and everything I've ever written about future directions magically appear without anything else involved at all. Of course, that doesn't mean that I only write about future directions. Sometimes future directions might include another category as well. So here we go again, just going to creativity, and once again everything just gets sorted out. So I can find what I've written, and you can see that the same sorts of things might appear if the topic is the same. So if you use categories as your heading for your subject, you will always be able to find the material for your subject. This might not seem so important now, but it certainly will be important once you've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and even 8 subjects underneath your belt. One of the things all our students in our degrees, our Master of Education degrees, need to be able to do is to revisit the work that they've done throughout their course at the end point in their last subject. So I might be hearing you say, well, okay, what's about categories? You mentioned tags as well. Well, indeed, it's like the sub-files within your filing cabinet. So you may have I might have a category called future directions, but when I talk about future directions, I might want to add tags related to the actual areas that I'm writing about. So in this particular case, I know that one of my categories is communication tools, but I also know that in this particular blog post I was writing about connectivism, and I often write about connectivism and I do want to find it again. So I can add categories and I can add tags to each blog post that I write. This makes it very searchable and very organisable when I want to revisit a particular theme, a topic or an area. This will be exactly the same for you. If you want to revisit a subject, you can click on one of your categories. If you want to revisit a theme that you like writing about, you can just click on that particular tag or search through your search box and you'll be able to find it. So let's cut to the chase. How can you do exactly what I've been doing for quite some years on my blog? Well, go back to CSU Thinkspace, go and visit Customising Your Site Resources, which you'll find on the right hand side there. And in that you'll actually find a whole lot of useful information, but the one that you'll want to visit is Using Categories and Tags. Using Categories and Tags has now got some instructional material for you, just to remind you what I was talking about, and also how it fits into what you've been doing as you develop your collection, your reflective collection related to the subject that you're studying, and even related to your responses to the professional issues that are emerging for you. The instructions with a visual interface take you through where to find them, how to set them up, and how to continue to add to them. So you'll see there are different ways of doing it. The default that comes with the blog when you start it is uncategorized. You can well imagine that's not going to be particularly helpful to you 6 months down the track. So do start thinking at the very least of using a category per subject. If you're thinking, oh, I didn't get this done, why didn't I do this earlier? Don't worry. You can always revisit what you've posted previously and actually add your categories to things later on down the track. So now it's a really good time to revisit what you've done in the early setup stages and see how you can improve what you've been doing. So let's have a quick look at some students to see what they've been up to. Here we have one student who is in INF 530, and this particular student, you can see, has got a post up there, has got some different areas that she's in, and has got her category INF 530 already and cooking. This student in ETL 401 has been quite busy. She's been writing quite a few posts already in different subjects. And if you have a look down here with the drop-out menu, you'll see that she has got ETL 401 and ETL 503 all ready for her, so that she can click on any of these posts and revisit the ones that are relevant to the subject. It's exactly the same on this one too, ETL 401 and uncategorized. When I see this, however, on the blogs that I've been peeking at, I get a little bit worried. I wonder if in fact students have only got one category happening because they think that the one at the front is going to do them for the subject that they're mainly focusing on at the moment. It won't. You'll want to go back and add your categories to it as well. However, I want to emphasise another really important point that I kind of mentioned when I was talking about my blog, but which you might not have twigged to, and that is that it's very important to have more than one thing associated with the category. So for example, this student is really interested in keeping track of the various responses directly to the work that she's doing within a subject. So she's very nicely breaking things up with categories: topic 1 forum, topic 2 forum, and here is topic 1 forum sitting here. But here's a problem. 1 year down the track and 2 years down the track, how are you going to keep track of all this? What you should do probably is topic 1 forum and ETL 401, both categories, so that at the point where you simply want to sort the entire subject, you can do it with that particular category. And at the moment, while you're studying the subject, you can simply jump back to these things like this as well. However, you can imagine when you've done 8 subjects, if you subdivide all the categories like that, that's going to be an awful lot. So it might be wiser to use tags to break down categories. Your choice, of course, but just remember what you must do is have something that makes you sort your blog for your subject. It doesn't have to be the subject code. You might like to call it the long name of the subject or an abbreviated name. That's fine, just so long as you know where to find the information. So here's a good example from another one of my students. He's also in ETL 523. He has got his digital citizenship tag happening. He has not got his INF 530 tag happening down here. So I think we might just get him to sneak his INF 530 tag onto his blog before he's too far down the track. You'll see that he's deployed one of the lovely plugins, however. This is a really nice way to revisit your tags, and the longer he's in a course, the more this is going to get populated, and it's just a fun way of being able to access the things that you've written about. You'll also notice that depending on the interface, there are comment features. It's really nice if you have time to visit one or two of your peer groups' blogs and to give some feedback as well. And finally, for the more sophisticated users, I thought that I would share Sharon's work that she's been doing. You'll see that Sharon has chosen one of the interfaces that has this nice kind of overview menu which allows you to see what's been happening, and you can see the tags for the subjects as well. This mosaic kind of layout, Cadmium Grid or PR News, is just a different kind of interface, which is nice to use. But Sharon is also an experienced blogger, so she has been advising some of the students in my class that the feature that some people have been doing is putting pages up the top here. And of course the problem with a page is that it doesn't have the facility to continue to add a new post. It just becomes one long massive essay. So it is better to have categories, but as Sharon points out, you can actually create a tab which points to a category as well. So the advanced users amongst you, go and chase that option up as a way as to manage things. The other thing that I've noticed that some students are doing, which is just lovely, is that they are adding pages with material that they're aggregating, things that they want to remind themselves about, and other areas, so that the whole Thinkspace blog actually becomes a Thinkspace. It isn't just your course response, but it's also your professional way of organising some of the materials associated with what you're studying. If any of this sounds like a horrible lot to you at the moment and your brain is feeling a little bit out of order, don't worry, it will come together. I do suggest that you go back to the Thinkspace, have a look at the help file and start with that, and then of course check in with friends who can give you a bit of a hand. Using categories and tags will save you a lot of time in the future and will make the whole blogging experience really easy. Good luck and enjoy your learning experience.